We're very familiar with the admins over at Take TV. Pretty sure they don't ask us because they don't want us to ruin our sleep schedule. They're like, "Mate, we want to get the Aussies to cast an EU event. We're not that cruel." It's like, no, punish us, Spaffy. We'll cast everything. Oh, let's go. Next time. As the finals is upon us. They are upon us, and predictions are locked in. If you missed out on your predictions, it's too late, Papi. It's too late. They are in the books, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresfan, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. It is Dark. Oh my god, let's go. Going for the 12 pool. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Let's go. 12 pool is upon us. Ling's going to be on the way. Now, we aren't immediately sending the drone across the map, so we're not going to be going for a proxy hatch variant of this. We are going to be expanding back at... Oh, no, never mind. We are going for the proxy hatch variant. Okay, so I bring this up all the time, and people think I'm crazy, but if you remember, a month ago, Dark was proxy hatching every game on Gresfan. Every single game for like a week, he was proxy hatching, and he was killing players like Hero, killing players like Classic. The drone arrives, we have enough minerals for a hatchery, and it's thrown down. Let's go, Poppy, let's go. And if you remember, after that week, Dark stopped. He stopped going for the proxy hatch because his opponents were pretty familiar with it, and I was saying how really that was Dark refining his build. He was refining his proxy hatch, and now he can whip it out at any point mid-series, just like here, just like now. We throw down a wall behind this. So far, so good. We should be getting a forge. I'm concerned that maybe Classic... I mean, to be fair, this is a bit of a later hatchery for Dark, so Classic is going to try and maybe force a cancel. But he's going to be defending without a forge, without cannons, which is a bold move, by the way. Bold move. We do have some great surface area here on this gateway. The gateway is going to be going down. I don't think the second zealot will come out in time. Oh boy, and there's no shield battery behind this either. Uh-oh. The gateway is going to fall again without a forge. We don't have any cannons. We don't have any extra DPS. The second zealot does barely come out. There we go. Shield batteries on the way. Dark is expanding behind this, trying to cause a little bit more havoc here. He does get some good surface area on that cyber core, and the cyber core going down is going to be huge. Yeah, this is getting out of hand. I don't think this is the best reaction so far from Classic, I'll be honest. Stalker comes out, but the DPS is so damn low. Shield batteries are finishing. Can they save the cyber core? The answer, no, they cannot. Cybercore goes down, warp gate heavily delayed, and from here, Dark, he can drone. He is droning up back at home. Oh, never mind. He's droning, but he's also throwing down spines. Oh my god. He's gonna be looking to throw down that tumor, and the adept wants it. Ooh, barely does snipe the tumor. Very nicely done by Classic. More lings are arriving, and the hatchery is barely going to be going down. The broodlings doing what they can. We're just waiting for a little bit more energy for that creep tumor. Without it, we can't really lay siege with this spine crawler, unfortunately. Oh, can Classic get it? I don't think he sees it. I don't think he knows, Pappy. There we go. So the tumor does finish up. And again, Dark has been droning behind this. Meanwhile, Classic is going to be going for his own Nexus as well. Things are going to be settling down, and we have to take a moment here to take stock at what's been going on. So Classic has a higher worker count and has a much later Nexus, though. So Dark is going to be taking a bit of an economic advantage. What does Classic have? Unfortunately, he can't really counterattack too well. He does have an Adept, which is going to cause a little bit of chaos, but there's no Warp Gate, there's no Twilight Council. We do have a Robo for an Immortal, so again, looks like Classic is just setting up quite heavily here defensively back at home. Immortals are going to fare amazingly against a follow-up Roach All-In, for example. Oh, and we actually cancel instead. I appreciate this. So it looks like Classic has recognized I don't really need an Immortal right now. Oh my god, he's going straight into a Bay. Jesus Christ. Robotics Bay is on the way. We're going to be rushing into Disruptors. We're going to be going into a Disruptor drop. Or even a Colossus drop. Whatever we want. Okay. I do think this is a really good way to get some counter damage. And I think that's the most important thing that Classic needs right now. Is to slow down Dark in some way and not let him get away with all this map control. Get away with all this greed. Here we go. Now the question is it going to be a Colossus or a Disruptor? It should be a Disruptor. There we go. Disruptor is on the way. Prison speed as well. And we're going for those drops. Back at home, Dark has just been droning. Hallucinated Scout does confirm the lack of gases, period. This was gasless here from Dark, as 12 Fools usually are, to be fair. But because of that, there's, again, no need for Roaches, or no need for Immortals to defend against Roaches. No fast lair. Classic is safe to take a third, and he's, yeah, not in a bad position either. Depending on how much damage these Disruptors get. We'll see how Dark is able to react in time. His queen count is very low. He's only got 4 queens, 1 for each base to inject it, essentially. He's got a couple of tumors active on the map. But here we go. We're zooming across Gresvan, 2 Disruptors, and a Dream. Behind this, we're starting Colossus production as well. So Classic doesn't have a large army, but he has a very powerful army nonetheless. Very high tech. See what he goes for. Getting a queen is nice. Getting some workers would be better. Oh god, he wants the queens! Does get one of them in the end. They'll take a bit of hull damage, but this is a good, scouting information here for Dark. Now he's aware of what's going on. Speed on the way. Depths threatening a shade. Yeah, not an insane amount of damage. Here we go. Novas go off and 8 workers go down. Pretty good. We just go for a warp-in as well. The queens can't quite catch up. They can't quite keep up, and this is getting out of hand. This is almost, I wouldn't say game-ending damage, but this is pretty damn close. Oh, we're gonna get even more damage done. This is too much. Dark. More Novas go off. More drones go down. 18 workers in total. 21. Ay. And just like that, any kind of economic lead that Dark once had is no longer there. Classic, with an even worker count, with 3 bases, is ahead. He doesn't have a very large ground army, and he can't counterattack anytime soon because there's no Blink, there's no Charge, there's no Twilight Council. It's still on the way. But Dark can't really do anything about this third. We see Dark trying to sneak into a Spire, get into Mutas. High risk, high reward. A very risky move here from Dark. Classic has spotted that. Oh, there's 2 more queens go down. Now, Classic, his units may have seen that Spire, but I don't think he clicked on it. I don't think he's fully aware of what he was seeing. 11 Mutas are on the way. Nah, he knows. Cannons are thrown down as well. Does he? Doesn't look like it. Cannon and shield battery at the 3rd base, sure, but there's nothing in the natural and there's nothing in the main. But it may not matter because Classic is going to be committing here to this push, and Dark only has Lings to defend. Lings and Mutas. No Roaches, no Ravagers. Handful of Queens. But we may not have enough anti-air. Dark is looking for the surround. Yeah, he dives on in. The Prism does fall. There aren't enough Stalkers. Dark with Mass Muta is going to clean this up. Oh, never mind. It looks like there are enough Stalkers. Well, I thought he was going to be able to overwhelm them, but no, he barely could not. Thankfully, though, because he killed the Prism, it is forcing Classic to turn around. Does force him back home. Again, these mutas with a Hail Mary play for Dark, and so far they're not quite doing it for him. But he's not backing down. We're up to 20 mutas here already. And our anti-air of choice, still Stalkers. Just nothing but Stalkers. I would appreciate some Archons. Archons would be amazing. As Blink is now done, the mutas dive into the main. Stalker's going to be doing what they can. At the same time, a Link counterattack is being set up to go into the natural. Oh! Mutas are being caught out, but I don't think too many of them died. Only 5 so far. As the Lings do go for the run by. The wall barely standing strong. Oh. And it looks like Dark is finding a way out. Potentially. Yeah, classic. He does pull back with his main army. He's respecting the Ling run by. He wants to try to establish a 4th base. A couple of mutas do get picked off. That does free things up here for the Southern Force, and there we go. Dark is able to escape. He's able to back off. A lot of Lings are going to be going down, but do we really care about the Lings? We care about the mutas. As Stargates are on the way. It looks like Classic wants to get into double Phoenix production, which will help, but this is a long way away. That's the problem. It's going to take a long time to get into these Phoenixes. God, and we are up to 38 mutas. I don't care how many Phoenixes you have. Like, it's not gonna, it's not gonna be enough, Papi. That's why I wish we had the Archons instead. But here we go. Gas is being sniped one after the other. Oh God. I don't know if you can tell, but I even dropped some frames just because of how many mutas we had. Aye. Got +1 air attack on the way. This fleet beacon, with it we can get into annual pulse crystals, Phoenix range. But Dark has clawed his way back into this game, like, because these mutas, they've been doing such a great job at keeping Classic pinned back at home. Now he's been able to saturate his 4th, get a 5th, get a 6th. Oh God, Dark is max. He snipes a Prism, had 2 disruptors inside it, by the way. And I think he can fight these Stalkers at this point, even the Phoenixes as well. We have hit critical mass of mutas. Doesn't matter what there is on the ground at this point. The mass muta is too much. Okay, the Stalkers are going to be able to force them back. Another 6 mutas did go down. But that flock is still insane. Like, the one-shot potential that we have is crazy. As we do dive in, another Phoenix goes down. We dive into the main base. We're getting on top of the production. We're getting on top of the Stargates. Phoenix range does get depowered. Fleet Beacon gets sniped. These Phoenixes are going to have a harder time dancing with these mutas. We are bleeding a lot of mutas though. To be fair, that's a good chunk of mutas going down, but we get a lot of workers anyway. 14 probes go down. Dark committing to the full Sky Zerg. Mutas, Corruptors, maybe some Vipers. And yeah, Classic is having a really hard time keeping up. Like, he's picking up a couple of mutas here and there, but the Stargates are still depowered. At this point, he is committing to the fight. Oh my God, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but Phoenixes are dying one after the other. The Stalkers as well. Yeah, Dark, he has the economy to sustain his losses, continuing to just max out on mutas. And Classic can't. Classic, he's losing probe after probe. He can't replace them. This is getting out of hand. The power of the mass muta. Especially when there's no splash damage, to be fair. Like, whether it's Archons or even Storms as well, there's no way to zone away these mutas. There's no way to give the Protoss player the breathing room that they need. As a result, Dark just doesn't stop. He just keeps on pushing, keeps on going, and he's snowballing out of control. The Phoenixes, they were never the answer. They could never really contest against this amount of mutas, and now we finally hit the amount where Dark is feeling confident to just dive on top of everything there is. Stalkers falling one after the other, and it's a slow death here for Classic. We'll lose his fourth, we'll lose everything. GG gets called, and Dark takes game number 1. Off of a 12 pool, off of a proxy hatch. The game started with a proxy, bear that in mind. GG, well played. It started with a proxy hatch, and then Classic did a great job at getting ahead after that with his disruptor drops. If you remember, his disruptors and his adepts did get him ahead economically, and it was all building up towards this big Colossus push. And Classic, I'm sure if he was up against a Ling Roach army, he would have won the game then and there, but because there were mutas, they actually forced Classic to turn around. They forced him to go back home because he had such limited anti-air. Those mutas, they were the MVPs there of Dark. They kept him alive, and they killed Classic at the same time. GG. Well played. If it was anything else, pretty sure Dark would have died. Like if it was Roaches, Hydras, Lingbane, Roach Ravager, I do think that Classic's timing with his 2 Colossi would have been more than enough to end the game then and there. Very well executed by Dark. Does take the first game, but now we're getting into game number 2. Is this league going on? This is live, yes. Live tournament as we speak. Love seeing the StarCraft 1 style of muta play. Yeah, it's not something you see too often. Like, if you remember, I'm sure you do. Lingbane muta, for example, was much more prevalent against Terran back in Heart of the Swarm. Now, not so much. You barely see mutas against Terran. Likewise, you barely see them against Protoss as well. It can be a really risky thing to do against Protoss, because if the Spire gets scouted early on, then the Protoss has so much time to respond and react and get Phoenixes, get Archons, get Sack Defense. But if you remember, Classic, he wasn't able to really recognize that a Spire was on the way until he was already committed to his push, so a very late scout or reaction from Classic, and yeah, Dark was able to take full advantage of that as we dive into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. I see. Classic needs to make Corsairs. True, Bobby, true. He needed to make Valkyries. I haven't watched Brood War in a long time. I used to watch ASL. I used to watch SSL back in the day. I loved it. But I haven't seen the most recent seasons of ASL. I should catch up. Brood War. It's always a lot of fun. Always a lot of fun. I'm not knowledgeable enough about Brood War to cast it, I don't think. But I can appreciate watching it. It's good. As we are getting across the map so far, standard stuff, hatch gas pool from Dark, forced to take the unnatural natural, so this time no crazy 12 pool, no fast mutas, no nothing like that. Likewise, Classic going for a gate expand, so this time we'll have a standard start to the game, as opposed to whatever the hell game 1 was. Classic needs to be able to scourge, true, the banelings of the sky. True. That's the one thing I don't envy. I tried playing Brood War. I tried laddering Brood War when StarCraft Remastered came out. One, the ping was awful. I could not. I had a hard time playing on the Korean server from Australia. Yeah, like I could imagine that like ZvZ muta v muta, or like Muta Scourge versus Muta Scourge would be a lot of fun, but also really chaotic and really stressful. It'd be like Ling Bane in StarCraft 2, I guess, but in the air. One mistake and it's over. I don't envy the players. I don't envy them. I'm good. I'll stick with my Ling Bane, thank you very much. As we are getting into this, guys are going for a Stargate opener. Does deny the scout of Dark. Typically, Dark, he was waiting for the Adept to move out, but Classic did fake the move out of his Adept, did cancel the Shade, and he was able to shut down those Lings, so Dark was unable to figure out whether this was a Stargate opener or a Twilight Council instead. As we get into this, Oracle is on the way. Adept's going to be threatening the bases, but Dark, he's got Queens in position, he has Lings as well. This Adept shouldn't find too much damage. Oh! As we commit to the Shade, and we're going to get one. Oh! We almost get one drone. Oh, it does get one towards the end. Can he get a second? No, he cannot. One drone. Again, not the worst damage here for Dark. It's acceptable damage. It's all good. Meanwhile, the first Oracle is on the way. We have a second Oracle behind this, so it's looking to be a standard opener into a third base. There we go. Third is on the way for Classic, so very macro-oriented, very meta play here from Classic. Do love to see it. As the Oracle moves out, the Lings dip in, and oh, they actually find a free unit here. A little bit of mispositioning from Classic. The Adept was out in the open, and it does go down. Oh, we could even get a pylon as well, but the Oracle shows up and the Lings are forced back. Regardless, a good pickoff here from Dark. It does help, especially considering he did lose a drone earlier. As Dark, is rushing into a lair. This is a very fast lair coming out from Dark. About a 420 lair. Oh, let's go. we were high earlier, and it's gonna keep on coming. Oh no, we vetoed altitude. Never mind. So yeah, we'll see what's in store for us. Gases are being taken. There is no Roach Warren. Initially, I assumed this would be for a Nidus. Queens are getting ready to move out across the map. We'll see what Dark has in store for us and what the purpose of this lair is going to be. As we still don't have a Roach Warren, so... And we aren't continuing Queen production either. Interesting. Yo, we going for mutas again? We are! All the gases are being taken as we speak. We saw the mutas do well for Dark earlier in game 1. And it's looking to be mutas again. We'll see. Could be Hydras as well. There it is. Spire is thrown down. So Dark, he's becoming really fond of mutas in ZvP. And again, as we mentioned earlier, if it goes unscouted, it can do quite a lot of damage. It can snowball out of control. As Classic has a piece of the puzzle, he does see the gases being taken here at the third base. The problem is that it's very common at this level of play for Zerg players to like stagger their gases, and for all Classic knows, the gases at the natural weren't taken, for example, right? And Dark is still staying on a pretty reasonable gas count, so he still doesn't quite know what's going on. We have Blink on the way. We're working on 1-1. Oh, so this is going to be a very potent 1-1 and later 2-2 timing for Classic. He's taking a fourth as we speak. For the most part, he is being relatively passive. We do see him now moving out across the map, but we have plenty of Links to deal with this. Classic's really just poking and prodding. I don't think he really intends to commit, and yeah, he does back off. And so far, Dark has done a great job at just banking up this gas, getting ready for those mutas. Classic still hasn't scouted, by the way. Here we go. The Stalker is just dancing with these Lings, trading pretty efficiently, all things considered. Ooh, another Queen is going to be going down as well. Mutas are on the way. And Classic is going to be able to take down this base. Unfortunately, Dark just wasn't quite in position. Hatchery will go down. As we even force a recall, but the mutas reveal themselves. Arguably a little bit prematurely, but the mutas have been spotted instantly. Phoenix on the way. Second Stargate as well. Classic. He knows what happened in game 1. He doesn't want history to repeat itself. He wants to get into those Phoenixes as quickly as possible. But the Mutas have arrived. Stalkers are trying to keep up here, but probes are still falling left and right. We do rotate in towards the natural base where Stalkers are waiting for Dark. A lot of Mutas are going down. At the same time, a Link counterattack here at the third base. Oh, doesn't find any damage. The static defense, the whole position was too good. Not the best start for Dark. Looking at the units lost tab here, he lost 4 Mutas, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Mutas are very expensive. And losing them like this does kind of slow him down a little bit. Classic in a much better position. Second Stargate finishes. Fleet Beacon is done. We can get into Phoenix range. Oh, the Mutas dive in. There's no shield battery. There is no overcharge. And we're not going to find too much damage with it. We do pull Classic out of position. At the same time, Links flood in, but no, Classic did leave Zealots back at home to defend. Back at his 4th. And yeah, Dark has to consolidate his forces and figure out how he wants to approach this. Because so far, this isn't working. So far, Classic has done a great job at minimizing losses. His worker count is pretty damn good. I would love Baneling run-bys, but again, we're spending all of our gas on Mutas. None left over for Banelings. Here we go once again. Classic caught out of position. 6 workers will go down. Lings on the left-hand side getting a little bit out of control, but not too much. Zealots are going to be able to clean them up. And now that the Phoenix count has gotten high enough, we're now investing into Corruptors. Corruptors are going to do a great job of just tanking for these Mutas. Supporting them against the Phoenixes. Mutas once again looking for an opening. Looking at this tab, we have 31 Mutas. Jesus. It's a lot of Mutas, Papi. It's a lot of Mutas. +1 air attack still on the way. Dark looking for a way in. Classic now feeling confident enough to actually move out and be active on the map. Bold move by Classic, but I mean, he's up to 10 Phoenixes, so he can afford to do so. You can see him dancing here against these Mutas, trading quite well. Another 5 Mutas go down, 6 Mutas even. Oh god, and the Mutas are being bullied back by these Phoenixes. Yeah, Dark, he's in a lot of trouble right now. Again, Classic was far, his response was a lot more solid this time. A lot more decisive. Man, you can't mute a Classic, not 2 games in a row. Once, sure, but not 2 games, Papi. As this 4th base is going to be going down. Mutas, they do attempt to engage, but once again, Phoenix is doing a great job at dancing around them. Prism is going to go down, but we're losing every single Muta. GG gets called, and Classic will take game number 2, tying up the series 1-1. GG. Again, something like a Spire or something like a Fast Spire is great to throw in and mix in into a series, into a best of 5. But at this level of play, doing the same kind of tricky strategy 2 games in a row against a player like Classic or Hero or Creator, against these top Koreans, man, can't do it. Can't pull it off, Papi. And with that, we have a series. We have a back and forth. We have a game 3. We'll see who takes a lead in the grand finals. I can't imagine Dark is gonna go Mutas again. It'll be crazy. There's the other thought process, right? Where you're like, you know what? He won't expect it 3 times in a row, right? Like, you're not wrong. He won't expect it, but do hope we do mix things up a little bit. You know, we have seen Dark do so well on Ancient off of pure Ling Bane. It's another kind of a greedy way to play in ZvP, but Dark can do it so well. If he gets map control, he can go Ling Bane into Hive into Ultras, and he can snowball out of control as well. I do know that Dark is quite fond of it, but we'll see if that's what he goes for. I don't remember Lynx having such flappy wings. It's a skin. It's a skin. There are skins in StarCraft, and some of them do make the units a little bit more fancy. But here I think it was a skin. As here we go, we are diving into our next game and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Sister, and we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing CranKy Gaming. Oh my god, what am I saying? It's not Hero. I saw someone mention Hero in the chat, and my brain just like went into autopilot. Representing Twisted Minds, it is Classic. Let's go. Classic has kind of established himself closer to Hero than Creator. Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree. I would say that Creator is very unique. I don't know if you've been watching much of Creator against Protoss and Terran, but I do think that Creator has kind of like branched off on his own, and he isn't necessarily like heavily micro-oriented or macro-oriented. He just has really unique builds. And it's always a lot of fun to cast Creator in that way. When it comes to Classic's playstyle, he has become very micro-oriented and very aggressive. I do still think that he is a step below Hero, but he is of a similar vein to Hero, definitely. Which is why it's always a lot of fun to cast him. Always a lot of fun to cast, always a lot of fun to watch. Great Protoss player. One of the best in Korea. And we'll see how this does unfold. Again, on Ancient Sister and one of the larger maps in the map pool. Because it's so large, you could argue, is it a good map for mutas? You know what? Probably, yeah. It probably is. But I don't think that's something you want to do 3 games in a row. I don't think that would be the wisest of choices. Even if mutas can maybe have a better job at dancing between the bases because they're a little bit more spread out. There's a decent amount of dead space you can take advantage of as well. Don't think it would be the wisest of moves, as Classic is once again going for a Stargate opener. For the most part, Classic hasn't been shaking things up too much. He can, of course, be very aggressive. We've seen Classic go for these 1-1 9-gate all-ins off of 3 bases, or even 7-gate all-ins without any forge, without any upgrades. Classic has been very aggressive, but I don't expect to see that on Ancient of all maps. Hero does it quite often on Ancient Sister, but I don't think Classic is one to do so. Well, we'll see. We'll see. See what the follow-up is going to be from this Stargate. As Dark eventually does take his 3rd base at his natural location. Goes in for a bit of a scout, and oh, we do see something a little bit different here. It is not an Oracle first, it's a Void Ray instead. So with this Void Ray, he's going to be hunting down these Overlords, keeping Dark in the dark. And we can play standard from here. We can just go into an Oracle anyway and go into Blink, or we can try and go for a very fast Twilight Council instead and into Glaive Adepts. It could be one or the other. A Void Ray isn't the biggest of tells. It's just, again, keeping Dark, keeping him out of the main and keeping scouting at a minimum. As Classic is setting up for his 3rd base. We'll see if we do go for a bit of a faster Twilight Council. For the time being, we do have that Oracle on the way, so everything's looking pretty normal here from Classic. Of course, Dark doesn't know that. He does have to prepare for anything. We do have Spores on the way, Evo Chamber as well for +1. There's that Twilight Council, there's that Forge, so it will not be Glaive Adepts. Is looking to be either Blink Stalkers or Charge. Dark is just saturating his spaces. He's working towards +1 melee. With +1 melee, he's going to have a great answer to Blink Stalkers. Lings are exactly what you want against that. And Classic is just looking to test the waters. Classic even cutting some corners as well. I don't know if you noticed, he only did make 1 Oracle. So 1 Oracle straight into those upgrades. So very light aggression here when it comes to the harassment. It's very greedy as well, because it means that he had that much less to defend his third base. Ooh, and Dark is making a massive wave of Lings behind this. He wants to be active. He wants to try to punish this third, and he may be able to. There's no shield battery. There's no cannon. There's nothing to support this army. We only have that one Oracle. And it's across the map. Uh-oh. Classic is going to be in a bit of trouble. Shield battery. No, that's a pylon on the way. Still no shield battery. Lings getting ready for the run by. As more Lings are on the way. And Dark is looking to collapse on the army. Oracle is back at home, thankfully, but it doesn't have that much energy. It's going to be running out. Stalkers go down one after the other, and this may just be it. The Ling Flood is real behind this. Dark is double expanding. He's throwing down the fourth base. He's getting a macro hatch. Ugh, we're forced to recall the probes. Forced to evacuate. Classic woefully underprepared at his third. Again, this would have been different if we just had more Oracles or even a shield. Even if we did have a shield battery, I don't think Classic would have been able to hold on. No! No opposition! Oh my god. Classic, you need to calm down, Pop. You need to calm down. Adepts, I need you to stand still, okay? As the Lings do get into the third base, the whole position was real. 8 more probes go down. Again, Dark with this mass Link style has full map control. Behind this, he can work towards an infestation pit. He can head towards Hive. He's getting a safety Roach Warren just in case. But once again, he gets a surround on this army. Zealots go down. Stalkers, they do blink back. Oh, but again, Classic having a really hard time getting a fourth up and running and even establishing his third. Now, we'll see if Dark does invest into these roaches. For the time being, he has very little gas to work with. Still focusing on Link production. We have eyes on the fourth, and we should be able to force a cancel. We want the army, Poppy. We're trying to get on top of the army. A Stalker does go down. We get a surround on the fourth base as well, and we should be seeing a cancel, and there we have it. Thankfully, no kill. As Classic is desperately just trying to get his fourth. He wants the macro, Pop. He wants the macro. Behind this, we have Roach Speed. Burrow as well. You love to see it. Burrow's on the way. Roaches. So Dark isn't taking into Hive. I mean, there's no infestation pit. You have plenty of macro hatches, though. Just for larva. Just to continue Link production. Dark wants a snowball. He doesn't want to allow Classic to stabilize. As +2 is about to kick in. Classic has been able to, keep up at least a little bit. He hasn't been losing too much in these last couple of moments. Fourth base is slowly getting up and running. But unfortunately, Classic, because he's been focusing so much on defending against these Lings, he's not ready for the follow-up. He's not ready for the eventual Roaches. He doesn't know how committed Dark is behind this. The second wave will soon be upon us, and it looks like the rocks have barely been scattered. Classic should be aware of the Roaches, but there's still no stack defense here at the fourth base. No shield batteries. Classic does push forward. Dark setting up a surround. No, sorry, setting up a counterattack instead, and this third base is left completely exposed. Not just the third, but also the fourth. Classic is being forced all in. This push needs to do some critical damage, some game-ending damage, but there are Roaches waiting for him on top of this ramp. Roaches, Queens, Lings, all the reinforcements. Classic, he blinks on forward into the army. He just doesn't have enough left. Good target firing out of those Queens. GG gets called, and Dark takes game number 3. Ooh, GG does take a lead in this series. Just punishing the greed of Classic. Again, when you don't go for a double or triple Oracle opener, Lings are suddenly so much more threatening to your army. When you skip out on Adepts as well, bearing in mind that he did skip Adepts and he was going straight into a handful of Zealots and Stalkers. Oh. Lings just had free reign, absolute free reign. And yeah, that was a pretty dominant performance there out of Dark. But that playstyle is also a little bit unique to Ancient Cistern just because of how large it is. It does mean that counterattacks from the Protoss take that much longer to move out across the map. Much easier to scout as well, much easier to prepare for. So yeah, Dark just taking full advantage of Ancient Cistern. But now we go to the polar opposite. We're not going to Altitude. We are going to Neo Humanity, the smallest map in the map pool. Let's go. Skills played very well today at Homestar Cup. Oh, nice, nice. I miss those games, Papi. I miss those games. Here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Neo Humanity. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming, leading the series 2-1. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds, down in this series, one game away from losing this series and getting knocked out of the finals. It is Classic. He needs to bring it back here and now. He needs to force the ace match. Meanwhile, Dark, Onomas, one more win, and he'll be this week's KSL champion. He'll be claiming his second victory, as both players have one KSL win under their belts, but only one, as Dark is setting up to take this forward third base. Oh, no, never mind. He was prepared to if need be, but no, he takes his natural instead. Crazy. Classic unable to block him. So Dark is going to have a much more comfortable expansion pattern. Going to have a lot of creep connecting the bases. Going to be much easier to keep up with Adepts or with Oracles. So a bit of a better start here for Dark. Oh my god. As that should not be happening. Classic was getting a little bit frisky with that probe, and he does lose it as well. Oh. Gonna have a little bit less scout information to work with. Won't be able to delay the third base. This means that Dark can actually skip his first couple of lings. So typically the way this dynamic works is that probe is usually there to delay your third, to pylon block, and to force some units out and force a reaction out of the Zerg player. Now that the probe did die, does mean that Dark can be a little bit greedier. It also means that Classic is gonna be guessing a little bit or in the dark as to whether or not there even is a third base. The third is going to be taken here. The forward hatchery this time will be secured by Dark. Likewise, no lings because we don't need them. Only queens are coming out, so very greedy stuff out of Dark because you can afford to be. Across the map, Classic is going for something different though. This time, no Stargate opener, not even a Twilight Council opener. It's going to be a Robo first. Oh boy, so this could be for Disruptor drops once again. We saw him get quite a lot of damage done in game 1 with his Disruptors. We could also be headed towards an Immortal based all-in as well if we throw down additional gateways, but for the time being we only have one gateway, so this is looking like Disruptors. Here's our second gateway. To be fair, Robo's just now about to finish up. Prism is on the way. No Bay, by the way. Okay. Show me a third gate. So far, only 2, and there we go. There's that third gateway. So Classic is going to be very aggressive with vanilla gateway units. Fourth gate even gets thrown down as well. Essentially working with Blink Stalkers before Blink even occurs. Oh, we're going for a 2-base all-in. There's the 6th gateway. So 2-base, 6-gate all-in. Who needs Blink? Who needs Charge when you have a War Prism? Let's go, Papi. The game is going to end one way or the other momentarily. He pulls out of gas, by the way. This is going to be a slow load all-in. Let's go. I haven't seen this in a long time. I say that. I think it's been like a month. Been like a month since I've seen this. So we have 0 gas to work with. Zealots are going to be warped in to support these Immortals. Slow lots. A slow load all-in. It can actually do a surprising amount of damage. You don't need Charge, mate. Let me tell you, Zealots, they're fast enough as they are. It's terrifying. I played this on the ladder. I played against it's disgusting. I've seen many a Zerg player as well die to this. It's heartbreaking whenever it does happen, but we'll see if Dark can figure out what's going on. There we go. He does scout the Zealots. He's now aware of what's going on. Roaches are on the way. He did throw down a safety roach warren earlier because he wasn't sure what was happening. Spine crawlers are thrown down as well. Again, stack defense is so crucial here in the defense. Boy, as 6 more Zealots are warped in on the front lines. Boys are being pulled. The queens are being brought to the front line. The Spore unable to burrow, but it will be zoning away that Prism at least a little bit. Even getting some damage done. Quite a lot of damage done, actually. That Prism has to be very careful. As the Spore is moving on forward, the Zealots are trying to get on top of these roaches. Good surface area, or denial of surface area right now from Dark. Able to kite back. But that Immortal is kept alive. And is doing so much damage in the back line. Transfuses are clutch. Again, Dark, he has to kite his heart out. The boys are being pulled. Lings are on the way, and it looks like Dark may just have enough. He gets us around, and the Immortal, it's going to go down. The Prism doesn't arrive in time. And Dark is looking to hold. Again, a little bit of a blunder there. That Prism took too many hits earlier, so he just couldn't hold on. The whole position on the drones. The Zealots are getting a little bit out of hand. But with the reinforcements, we should be able to clean this up without losing too much more. Oh, at least we should. As the Zealots do go down. We did lose all the queens earlier, which means there's no more anti-air. Yo, Classic, this is snowballing a little bit. Without any more queens, there's nothing to stop that Prism. And we just keep on warping in. Time and time again, the Stalker's picking up all these weakened roaches. But I think I think there's just a little bit too much Zerg. We force the recall. Dark does hold. Ooh. And I almost want to say that the MVP there for Dark was the Spore. That Spore did so much damage to the Prism, and it meant that it couldn't really be forward. It couldn't push forward with the Immortals. It couldn't be there to save it. As the queens were, of course, zoning it away. And sure, the worker counts are looking pretty even, but there's no tech. That's the problem. There's no Twilight Council. There's no upgrades. Like, Classic doesn't have a lot of longevity into this game. Doesn't have a lot going for him. I'm pretty sure he's just going to set up for a second all-in. As Dark can drone from this point. He could even squeeze out a lair as well. Just so he can work towards roach speed. Actually, I think even better than roach speed would just be a Baneling Nest at this point. I do think like a Baneling Nest would be amazing right now, but here we go. We're just morphing in whatever Ravagers we can. Ling's trying to figure out what's going on. With this warping of Zealots, it does confirm that Classic is setting up for a second push, a second wave. Again, there's no way for him to transition into a longer game. And he's hoping that maybe Dark drones up a little bit too much. And Dark was droning a little bit, but he's still focusing on Ling production, on roaches. As we have to slowly elevator everyone over the wall. We're not leaving anyone behind. Let's go. And upon seeing this, Dark, now he knows. And now he's going to be able to pump out, or just focus on army production at this point. Spore has been rebuilt, remade. More queens are on the way. And as a result, it's going to be that much more difficult for Classic to really pull this off. Now, he does have 3 Immortals. That's a lot of Immortals. To be fair, that Prism is so low. Here we go. It's all or nothing for Classic. Oh! And that's the other thing. Because we have Ravagers now, that Prism is that much more under threat. Even not forcing another cancel. Or canceling another warp in. The Slowlots pushing on forward. They're coming. Oh, as the Biles do rain down on those Stalkers. Lings are waiting in the back line, and here we go. We're diving on forward. Completely swallowing up all of these Zealots. And yeah, there's not enough Protoss on the ground. There's not enough for Classic. The first push was the scariest. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 4 and the series and become this week's KSL champion. GG. GG, well played. Classic trying to be a little bit cheeky, a little bit old school. That slow lot all in was very popular last year. Last year around when it was I think Haas, he originated with this build in DreamHack Masters, I want to say. I think he came up with it, and then it made the rounds last year around the second half, you know, October, September, November sort of era. And yeah, it was really cool to see Classic whip it out again, but alas, was unable to pull it off. Dark was able to muster up enough defenses. The Spore, the Spine, the Queens, all that coming together, and as soon as he sniped that Prism, that did kind of, or as soon as he killed the first Immortal, that was kind of the backbone of Classic's army gone at that point. And yeah, Dark was doing a good enough job at just kiting, hold positioning his drones. Beautiful defense. GG, well played. Congratulations to Dark for taking his second KSL win out of 17. Classic still only with 1. Unfortunately, Classic is gonna have to be taking that second place medal instead, trophy even. But a good performance nonetheless. We had a really fun series. We saw some mutas, we saw mutas winning, we saw mutas dying. A lot of good fun, GG. And hope everyone in the chat enjoyed themselves as well. Again, we had a little bit of a lighter turnout this week. I assume it is because of Home Story Cup, because a lot of the Koreans may be unavailable this morning, staying up late to watch Home Story Cup, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing more next week. I'm sure we're going to be seeing players like Bjorn and players like Hero, Creator, DRG, Su, Ragnarok. I'm sure, yeah, participation will be going back to normal starting next week, so keep an eye out for that. The other reason, actually, now that I think about it, I'm curious, GSL is upon us. The GSL qualifiers did take place a couple of days ago, so it's also possible that some of them may be looking to preserve their strategies and hide their builds. I'm not saying that that's what is happening, but it definitely could. We'll see. We'll see who is suspiciously unavailable for the online weekly tournaments. We'll see if Hero shows up for ESL Asia or not. Keep an eye out for that. We'll keep an eye out. Oh, right, of course. Predictions. As I do pay out. Yo, it's 50-50. Let's go. Congratulations to the people that did win out that lovely payout as well. And with that does wrap up our broadcast for this afternoon. Another PSA though, public service announcement. Home Story Cup is this weekend. Day 1 did wrap up hours ago at this point. Was last night, and day 2 is going to be starting up in, I want to say, 6 hours. Let's double check. 6 or 7 hours. Sorry, 5 hours. My god, it's so early. 5 hours from now. Make sure to have a nap, get some sleep, get some rest, and wake up in time for Home Story Cup. Oh boy, we don't get too many offline events for StarCraft, so cherish them while we can. You know, support whichever ones we can as well. So yeah, great to see Home Story Cup coming back for another edition. I believe both Group A and Group B did wrap up already, and tonight is going to be Group C and Group D. So if you're interested in watching players like Gumiho, Clem, Alazer, DNS, Petit Drogo, Cyril, Spirit, Showtime, and many others. Oh, Mark! Ubu Thermal! Mark himself is going to be there as well. I remember I was really shocked to see him, because he pseudo-retired a while ago, and he's like kind of playing and kind of not playing. So it's cool to see him again. Cool to see him taking part in the community. So yeah, do highly recommend checking out Home Story Cup tonight. I believe tonight is the end of the group stage, and tomorrow is going to be the playoff brackets. So 3 full days of StarCraft. Oh, love to see it. in the chat. Watched all of Home Story Cup yesterday. I'm gonna watch all of it today and tomorrow. But let's go. Ruin all the sleep schedules. Stay up for it, Pappy. Stay up. I'll do my best as well. I'll do my best to stay up. Oh boy. But yeah, with that, we are done for now. Also, I should say, if you want some more of the CranKy Ducklings, if you enjoy the broadcast, and if you want some more, we're gonna be live as well in 8 hours. Sorry, 7 hours. So unfortunately, our next broadcast is going to be clashing with Home Story Cup, but that's the mate. Just open up a couple of tabs, open up a second window, you know, multi-twitch it up if you need to. We will be live in 7 hours with OSC King of the Hill. It is a King of the Hill style tournament, 15 players, 15 best of ones. A lot of action, a lot of heartbreak, smiles, joy, and horror. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, especially with best of ones. It's a really wild tournament, and it's always a lot of fun. It is a shame that it's clashing with Home Story Cup. Not ideal, but once OSC King of the Hill wraps up, we will be raiding Take TV, and yeah, we'll all be watching the rest of Home Story Cup together. And again, you know, you can open up multiple tabs. Ideally, we wouldn't be clashing, but alas, it's out of my hands, it's out of my control. Tournament is being run when it is. And it's also a good opportunity to catch some of the other players that aren't taking part in Home Story Cup. Mainly a lot of the Koreans, a lot of the other Europeans as well. Of course, Home Story Cup is invite only, so if you're maybe interested in some of the players that aren't a part of Home Story Cup, then they're probably going to be there in OSC King of the Hill instead. Oh boy. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. Keep an eye out. As with that, we're going to be wrapping up here tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Hope everyone had a great time. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Speaking of upcoming CranKy Duckling broadcasts, I did mention GSL earlier, and I'll mention it again because the GSL qualifiers did end a couple of days ago. And as it typically is, the replays were not, or sorry, the matches were not broadcasted to the public, but we have our hands on the replays. So tomorrow in just over 24 hours before Home Story Cup this time. We made sure to organize it beforehand so we can lead into Home Story Cup with our cast. We're going to have a GSL qualifier replay cast. The replays of the qualifiers will be casted on the CranKy Ducklings, and we have a lot to go through. We're probably going to go through half. We'll go through half tomorrow and then the other half another day. So if you're interested in those GSL qualifiers, in watching players like TY, Stats, DRG, Ragnarok, Dark, all your favorites, we'll be featuring them tomorrow. And I did mention some of those Innovation as well. I think he played in the qualifiers. Yeah, we'll cast as much as we can, So be sure to follow the CranKy Ducklings if you want to be notified for when we go live. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. We have a Patreon, !Patreon in the chat if you want to support us monetarily, and we also have a YouTube channel if you want to cast the VODs. All of our VODs are uploaded to YouTube. Our YouTube is like 2 months behind just because we only upload 1 tournament a day on YouTube, and we usually cast like 2 or 3 a day, so we're a little bit behind, but we're slowly catching up. So if you're interested in VODs, they're on YouTube, they're on Twitch as well, so you can watch them if you're interested. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting. We'll see you guys next time. We'll see you guys in 7 hours. Until then, bye. Hasta luego.